Hello guys, we are back with another episode of Civ 5. This one will be a 6th entry into the series. We are doing pretty well at the moment. We are preparing for our next war. We will be going to war with England. They're our closest neighbor and they have the best stuff that we want to nick off them. So they're who we're going to go rob next. That's just how it's going to work in Civ 5. I know that sounds pretty depressing and mean and not the kind of values you want to impart in other people, but, England has nice stuff, and we want nice stuff, so we're going to take it. Every time a wonder gets built in the city of London, it just becomes more and more of a target. And that may not give us the right to attack it offhand, but it does give us the right to build up some military units, Get ready for the eventual case where, there's just a chance that you can take something off England. Unlike the war with Japan, I really only want one thing off England, which is London. London is a nice city with a lot of nice people. It's going to be a great addition to the Empire when it becomes an addition to the Empire, because we're still not there yet. We need to move along a little bit in order to get to the point where London will be a part of our empire, but it's not as though we haven't been building up. We got to artillery, so that means we will be able to pretty much take the city without too much worry. It's a little iffy as to whether or not we'll actually have an easy time of the war, because things will change between now and when we actually declare the war. That may change the balance of power between us, but as it stands at the moment, we're looking good. One of the scenarios I can imagine happening is running out of melee units. That's definitely something that could happen in the battle. That would be pretty bad for us. And the reason I envision that happening is because the English do have, they have two unique units. They have the Ship of the Line and then the English Longbowmen, both of which are powerful ranged units that can just sit far enough away from the capital that we wouldn't be able to directly attack them, or sit in the water where we wouldn't be able to attack them, and ping away at our melee units to keep us from actually taking the city. Now in Civ 5, there's a few ways around those kind of strategies. The easiest way is to use ranged units. Not ranged units, cavalry units. Cavalry or tank units. Because they can sit 3 tiles away from a city and then charge into it when you have the city far enough down that you can actually take it. It's a good strategy if you want to avoid losing a lot of units. On the alternative, you can go with a wave assault strategy where you build significantly more melee units than you normally would, and you just have them sit and wait around on the capital. There are benefits to both strategies, and I'm not going to say that either one is awful. The benefit to the cavalry strategy is that you're going to lose less units. But you also have the chance of losing your artillery pieces, which, if you lose enough artillery pieces, the siege will halt, which would be bad. Now, the strategy that involves using a kind of wave assault strategy means that you're going to end up losing your military units like your musketmen. That's the real downside of it. The positive of it is that your opponent will always have things to shoot that are on low health, so they generally won't be targeting your artillery piece unless your artillery was what you rolled into the city first, which you probably didn't. So that means that your artillery will survive a few extra turns if things start going south. There are merits to both strategies. The little frontline force we have on our border with England right now is more conducive to a cavalry strategy because we have the knight there. We can work our way up to cavalry pretty easily. But I think at this point in the game, I decide to start moving towards the wave assault hybrid strategy because I'm building a lot of musketmen here to help shore up the front lines because I don't really know what England has behind their fog of war. I can see a lot of tiles into English land, but I can't really see everything, so I don't know what England's troop movements are like, whether or not their capital is their most defended city, or whether or not it's being defended by a skeleton force. Those type of things will determine whether or not we can actually initiate a breakthrough and take the city before the English can react, or whether or not we need to prepare for a longer battle. And instead of trying to get our forces ready to blitz in and take the city, we can get our forces ready to kind of turtle their way in and clear out all the forces so that the artillery can go in and finish up the job. Now, all of this is speculative at the moment, but it will become a reality here soon, which is why you should definitely, when you are playing Civ and when you are about to go to war, you should definitely take a few turns to think about how you intend on doing it, what obstacles are going to be in your way, and what kind of complications you can expect on your own end. Because with our case, we have great production, so we will be able to produce enough units to fight the war. We know that much. From our predictions, we would like to be able to move a large force into the territory around London, defend that territory, and then bombard the city. Complication to this could involve that the English might have a large army of their own, and that it might not be around London at the moment, but could return to London quickly enough to disrupt our attack. So with those kind of thoughts in mind, we're probably still going to be able to go through with the war because it's not as though we're terribly positioned to do so. Like there are scenarios where you can see a perfect chance to go to war, but because of things happening near you, it just suddenly becomes a non-option for you. Like if Japan was still around and we were still prepping this invasion for the north, and if Japan had a bigger military than us and were prepping on our border, we wouldn't be able to go through with it because we'd have to turn around our forces to defend ourselves. So we have positioned ourselves good enough that we don't have to worry about another conflict coming in and screwing up our plans for the future. We're slowly building up enough forces that we'll be able to push through the English defenses, or at least the defenses that we know of. Arabia still doesn't hate us, so we still have at least one AI that's more or less not against us. And one of the good things about Arabia being the AI that's not against us is that they are essentially the weaker of the civs as far as science goes. And that's because they were stuck on their own continent. One of the things that you can really forget about when it comes to Civ 5 is that there are a lot of bonuses involved from having neighbors nearby, trading with neighbors, and being involved in a larger international community. Because there are things like, because trade in itself can be done without another civilization near you. But trade with other civilizations will generally provide you with more gold. And if you have less science than the person you're trading with, it will also provide you with science. So in the stage of the game that we're in, that's not too big of a deal. But in the early game, for like the first 50 to 100 turns, missing out on that extra 4 or 5 science when you're behind on science means that you end up falling further and further behind, and that's something that happens to the AI as much as it happens to people. And also looks a little bit like that Arabia might be going for a culture or diplomatic approach to the game. And having them far away for that is a little bad, because if Arabia does get a lot of culture and tries to pull off a win, we won't be able to stop it. Unless we just have a really big military or a really good tech advantage. Attack plan on Arabia would be an interesting one to muse on for a little bit, because it might come up, and based off the limited information we have, we can't really come up with anything concrete, but we can come up with a few assumptions that might be helpful for us. Now, looking at the map where we are, our 3 coastal cities are on the southern side of the continent, which means that they probably don't have access to the open ocean. If we look down there below the city-state, directly below England, we can see that the passage is actually covered in ice, which means that no ships can actually go through that way. That's helpful for us in the upcoming war, because that means ships of the line can't threaten our underbelly. But in future wars, that's going to be a bit of a hurdle for us, because it means that our ships won't be able to actually get out of the bay and into the larger ocean unless there's a passage down there by Japan. Now, judging from the fact that we haven't seen any other ships in that bay other than the Japanese ships that we fought during the war, it's a little likely that the Japanese passage is also blocked. Now, if that bay is blocked off on 2 sides, that means the only ships that will be able to pass through that area are submarines. And that'll make our 3 maritime cities supremely defensible, but it'll also hamper their ability to trade and hamper their ability to produce military fleets that are good at bombarding cities. So if we want to use them for an invasion of Arabia, which we would have to use them for invasion of Arabia, and considering the limitations of the geography, the best course of action that we could have would be to build a fleet of submarines down there and then station it up north west of Azulan, so that we can actually clear out the fog there and see the best route to Arabia. Then we could amass our army on the coast of Cusco, and then have the submarines protected on the passage to Arabia. Now, that's a little risky, because if the Arabians build up a significant enough fleet, they'll prevent an army from passing by. And that could be a problem for us in certain regards. If they have a strong enough fleet to prevent the passage of an army by naval capacity, which I seriously doubt that they'll be able to pull off that feat. But if they do pull off that feat, we will still be able to pull off a invasion if we can get enough site available. The easiest way to do that would be through paratroopers. Paratrooper invasion would be very difficult to pull off, especially without any type of actual ground support or sea support for city bombardment. But it wouldn't be completely impossible if their tech was low enough. Alternatively, even if we couldn't get the paratroopers off, if we could rush to actual XCOM troopers, we would be able to take Arabian capital with very little effort. So it might just end up being a waiting game after our war with England, because after the war with England, the only city we need to capture to win the game is Arabia. If we capture Arabia, we will have achieved a domination victory. That being said, I don't know how well that would go over. It's really going to depend on our relationship with Arabia after our war with England. Like, if they become super hostile to us, they may start building up their own military forces, and they may start actually allying with some of the remnant empires left on our continent. Because even with England's capital gone, they could still be a thorn on our side. Ships of the line are decent enough that they can win a battle engagement with a battleship or two. So it's not as though our war with England won't achieve the same results that our war with Japan did, in that our war with Japan crippled the Japanese Empire moving forward. Our war with England will slow them down significantly. It'll take away their biggest science city, but it won't cripple them. It'll just put us to the point where, if we need to, we could roll in and crush England at any time we want. But that will require an occupying force and a strategic awareness of what's actually happening within the English Empire. Because after this, they are going to hate us. There's no doubt about that. It's almost time. So we have our war with England now. Initial advances into English territory are looking pretty decent. We'll have to force our way past 2 pikemen, and then we'll be into the city proper. Honestly, war is one of the funnest aspects of Civ 5. I know some people dislike it, and it's a little wonky in that it can be a case where you'll end up in a stalemate because of a war, because your opponent's as evenly matched as you are. But there also are times when war just becomes a bit of a joke because you have so far ahead technology that there's nothing that the enemy can do to stop you. Like, I've definitely played a game with Cusco where I ended up spawning next to a mountain, getting a lot of early science, and then by my first war, I was already using modern infantry, and my opponents had pikemen. And even though I only had 2 units at the time, we still won the war because 2 units of infantry can just walk through an army of pikemen. Thanks to our building choices, we actually have a great general lying around, which is really good for this situation. We used up our last 2 in the war to secure the capture of Kyoto. Looks like the bay is filled with ships of the line. It's a bad sign. But we do appear to be a military tech level ahead of our opponent. My guess is that while England does have a fair number of decent techs, they're probably more on the growth side of the tree than the actual military side of the tree, which will give us an advantage in the war. And if things go well, this may be the last war of the game. Maybe the second last war of the game. Like I said, at this point, if we can actually take London, Arabia will be the last city we need to take to win the game. And if that happens, we're just pretty happy, because we can easily take most weaker civs. Yeah, we should be able to take these. We should be able to take these units that are trying to come in from the south. Meanwhile, our war up front is going okay. We can get on our first bombards. And move our last artillery piece into place. Got 4 good melee units around the capital. Many of them will die, probably. And we have enough bombard area that we can actually just take the city, hopefully. Now down in the south, we're actually diverting a little bit of troops to halt their little force there. That may not be a great plan. Because our military units aren't infinite. Eventually, we're going to start to run out of them. And when that happens, it's not going to be good for us. Because we will need our units in order to capture the city. Artillery alone won't do the job. Which is why it's good that we decided to bring up a range of different units instead of going with the quicker plan of going with cavalry. We didn't really have enough horses to pull it off, but we could have had like 1 or 2 cavalry in the reserve and then just marched in artillery. Although, looking from things that might not have gone over too well, but you never know. The English are doing some damage up here. I'm still resoundingly confident we can take the city, though. And with London under our belt, the world will practically be ours. Our great fire nation will have done what the real one could not. Well, the fake real one, you know. And the bombards are still coming. We probably should have cleared out some of those units around the capital. I think early on we were just hoping that with enough bombards we could just bombard it and then quickly nip in the city. And that we wouldn't have to worry about the units. We could pick them off afterwards, but they have like 3 longbowmen there, 2 ships of the line, and a city bombard. That's a lot of bombarding that they can do. And it's generally enough to kill most units, even some of our units that are a little bit beefier than the ones that they were putting up until recently. Doesn't mean we're out, though. We're still in this. We still have a chance. At this point, we're running out of melee units. We need to bring everything up that we can to the front. It's going to be bad if we get tricked out of this city because we can't field a large enough ground force. So we did a little bit of a mix in our attacks. Trying just to keep everything away from London until we can get our forces where they need to be. I have to say that the Incan bonus that they can move regularly across hills is really good for mobility in war. Really good. I have to say we are marching our way towards modern infantry, which will take us to the modern era. We have enough science at this point that we can push it through while we're at war. We might not do it while we're at war, because it'll take a long time, but generally if you can get tech costs under 10 turns, you're doing good. You're right where you're supposed to be. We've got about 5 minutes left in the recording session. Actually, about this point, 2 minutes left. 3. Gotta be careful what clock I'm looking at. And we are at the point in the war where things are starting to look a little rough, but we will be able to push through with relative ease. It's not as though we're going to be too damaged by this whole thing. And I think that we'll be able to take the city. We've moved up some more melee units. They should be decent enough. To get in there and take the city. Our artillery didn't take too big of a hit from being left alone a turn, so we should be fine. I don't know what the range on Chips of the Line is. I'm thinking it must be 2, because if it were 3, our artillery would be in worse shape than it is. But I'm thinking it's 2. Range on the longbowmen, though, is definitely 3. Now here we are, moving everything in. We should be able to take the city. We are at the point where London is about to fall. And with that, London, you fought a hard fight, but you are joining the Empire today. Bombard and then move in with our cavalry. We have taken London. Feels really good, guys. Well, that's where we're going to be stopping the recording session today. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and remember to leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in the next one. See you next weekend. Bye, guys.